call to order. This is what co-chairs do. Yeah. So, oh, okay. No.
All right.
Oh.
We're calling to order the meeting.
Yes.
And then we have a public comment.
So would anybody from the public? I think there's nobody on Zoom, but you guys have anything you want to?
They're just here to help with the best ordinance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're Jackie, I know Jackie's requested that we all maybe introduce ourselves because she's our secretary, so she's taking minutes and typing furiously. So.
Jeff ran downstairs to turn the microphones on so that you'll hear things better.
Can you hear it all right now? Jackie?
I can hear you three.
Oh, okay.
No one else is talking.
Yeah,
So
no
that's
one else is
Right, okay.
Okay, and then approval of the minutes. So we have two sets of minutes to approve. We realized that we didn't approve the minutes from the June 24th meeting of last year. And then we have our normal minutes from our last meeting, December 16th. Anyone have any?
I didn't have any comments on it. So
And Mark, if you ever have things to, you would just comment when it's circulating in draft form in the email.
Yeah.
All right.
So I move that we approve the minutes.
I second.
Well, which ones are we talking about?
Oh, I move that we approve the minutes from, I don't know if we need two motions, 6/24 and 12/16. What's that?
You can do one motion if you
One motion from
Okay.
6/24/25 and 12/16/26.
Oops, that should say.
Excuse me, that should be 25.
Yep,
Oh, 12/16/25, right?
my bad. I second the motion.
Okay.
All in favor? Okay, that's all three.
Okay, staff update.
Do you want to do the introductions first?
Yeah, let's do
Yeah,
those.
please.
Okay, so we have, in addition to the staff and committee, we've got a gentleman that's coming to check it out because he might want to be a future member. So we'll let you introduce yourself first. So, okay.
Do I need to step up to the stand? Or?
Probably just Jackie can hear better that way if you do.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carl Lozon. I am a member of Topsham. I saw the advert in the paper, The Crier, for a need for committee members. So I wanted to come and check it out. I work in the HVAC field as an engineer. I'm a professional engineer, and my current company works in the geothermal field. So I have some exposure with decarbonization and electrification systems, specifically heating and cooling. So perhaps I might have some things to contribute, depending on what the committee's goals and ongoing initiatives are. And I also want to make sure that I can dedicate appropriate time and effort to make sure I'm not a slacker, so to say, on the committee. So yeah, here listening and hopefully spend a couple of minutes talking with the committee about what needs are, and maybe I'll be a good fit or not. So
Yeah, I can definitely stay a little bit longer to chat with you afterward. It sounds like you need to take off.
Yeah, I've got I won't be able to say much after 5:30.
Okay, and could you spell your last name for me, please?
yes, ma'am. It's Lozon.
M or N?
And
M.
that's Nancy.
Nancy, thank you.
You're welcome.
Whereabouts in Topsham do you live?
I'm off of Forsyth Road on Oak Island Way.
Oh, wow. Almost your neighbor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm at 14 Palmer Lane,
Okay.
so, which
Is
is,
that,
would be 591 Forsyth if my address was on Forsyth.
okay, it's awesome. Well, maybe we'll run into each other.
All right.
Outside of that.
Sounds good. Yeah.
So that's all, I guess. Thank you.
Okay,
Nice
thanks.
to meet you,
Yeah.
Carl.
You too. Jeff?
No introductions?
Yeah, just for
Oh,
everyone's benefit.
okay. I'm Jeff Emerson, the Assistant Town Manager. I guess being part of the Energy Committee now, as a staff representative, I come from a background of 30 years in the fire service, 30+ years. With the last 20 of those in enforcement and protection. Hopefully I have something to offer.
Hi there, Mickey St. Pierre. I'm the interim fire chief right now. I'm usually the deputy fire chief, and I was asked as a staff representative to come down and meet you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm Mark Waltz, the town manager. And our planning director should be down in a little while. She's at another meeting for CPIC, but she should come join us too soon.
And I'm Stephanie Gardner. I'm one of the Energy Committee co-chairs. I just joined in, I think, April or May of last year, right at the tail end of the Climate Action Plan, which was the project before, helped the committee draft the newest charge, which has two different components to it. One is helping the town come up with zoning ordinance to support battery storage projects. And then the other is to host some educational sessions, both about battery storage and other items that kind of relate to the climate action plan. And I work in the industry. I've been in clean energy for the last decade plus. My current company is a startup, and I'm director of product, and we are doing residential battery storage and capital markets. We have a lease product. And I have a master's degree in environmental law and policy. So very brief exposure to land use stuff, but in Vermont.
Nick Watley, I'm the other co-chair of this. Let's see, I'm currently a farmer, and I have kind of semi-retired from a granite and marble business that I started. I still work with them a lot, but I'm not the owner of it anymore. It's an ESOP, which is a employee stock owned company. So it's a lot of fun working with those guys. I'm basically enthusiast for all of these issues. I love building solar. I love, working on my house and, working on these bigger projects like with the town. So that's it. Jackie?
And how long have you been?
Oh, I've been on
involved with
the
towns?
committee for, I don't know, I don't count years very well, but I've been on, I was one of the original members. And our first project was to help to arrange a solar power purchase agreement for the town. We used to call ourselves Topsham Solar Advocates, and we're still friends with whoever's left there. But anyway, so we got sort of started there, and then we thought, oh, well, we could do some other stuff. So we asked the town if we could be we are an ad hoc committee, right? Yeah, so we applied for that, they said fine, and here we are.
Okay, I'm Jackie Cressy. I'm very much retired, but I have a master's degree in environmental studies. So I'm more on what I call the plant side, the living side, rather than the more technical stuff that we're dealing with right now. But I've been on the committee for 2 years about, and I like being able to help determine policy.
And just for how the committee's organized, generally our committees, the only actual members are the citizens. And then there's usually one staff member that's assigned to support the committee. Right now, I'm the staff member assigned to the Energy Committee. But because of what the committee's been working on, of trying to draft some battery storage ordinances, I've asked some other members of the town to come join us for their expertise, and that's why there's 3 staff members here tonight, and maybe a 4th before we're done.
Yeah, and we usually, did you tell them we usually meet in a conference room, so it's not this formal feeling, it's more.
Right.
Very nice. They saw that I was in the wrong spot, directed me here.
Yeah, so this is very odd, very odd.
They might have tried to grab you for that group.
Yeah.
I was afraid I opened that same door myself.
Ooh. Nick said he wanted to have a chance at the gavel, so that's why I'm down here.
Well, that's why we're sitting here. So,
Okay, staff update.
Probably the 2 most interesting things that would be to you folks are the library has reported to us that they think their lights are at the end of their lifespan that were put in the early, or when the library was built, so the early 2000s. So they're looking at some LED replacements, and they're right now seeing if there's maybe any efficiency money that could come from. And then for this building and for the public's, actually for all our buildings, we're looking at getting probably Siemens to look at them and give us predictions on when we're gonna need to start replacing stuff, so we're gonna start planning for the future with that stuff.
yeah, has that moved at all since last month, or are you just kind of in the infancy?
Infancy right now.
Yeah.
Jeff's talked to Siemens and trying to get an idea of the price and things.
But there was a slight delay, we reached out to our current vendors.
Right. No, that's exciting. About that.
All right, old business. We had mentioned that there were some website updates to get the Energy Committee page fully up to speed, because I think it said it was on a hiatus or something, and I think Mark, you had said you would.
I think that's down. So yeah, it's no longer says it's on hiatus. So.
Okay, awesome. Invasive species and natural areas plan collaboration with the Conservation Committee. Jackie, I think you said you would touch base with them after their January 5th meeting.
I was actually at their January 5th meeting for a short while, and they were very much in favor of doing something with us. And they asked me to be the person to connect with a possible presenter. And I have already reached out to Andrew Tufts, just did that today. So it will be a bit before we hear back.
Who is that person?
Andrew Tufts is the Bringing Nature Home manager for Maine Audubon, and is really into getting people to understand why bringing nature in, particularly things that belong here, are important to do. And on that, I'm assuming that he would be very good at invasive plants. I've heard him speak. He's an excellent speaker, very engaging. And he does this sort of thing quite a lot for different organizations. So I'm quite hopeful, especially since we've given him an option of either May or in the fall, because either time would be an appropriate time to have this kind of presentation and then follow up with a physical workshop where we actually try to get rid of some things in our various parks.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
Can I jump back to one other thing you might be interested in? Is the state has a infrastructure adaptation grant that's due in the end of March, and there's an emphasis on green solutions. So we've reached out to Sedago Technics that did our study on the Pleasant Point Road, and some of the certain areas of that they had recommended that plantings be done to help protect the shoreline before it got to the point it would need rock. So I've reached out to them, and they're gonna give me a price to actually give us the plan for the pieces so that we can put in and try to get that grant to help pay for that. So
Right.
something else, and, like, which I think probably follows on the climate action plan somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Wow.
All right, battery storage, educational session planning. I think some of the committee members had corresponded via email after the last meeting where we had decided who to reach out to. So we've nailed down 2 speakers and a date for our educational session, which will be February 25th at 6:30 p.m. That, and our 2 speakers are Kurt Mayland of the Vermont Law and Graduate School Energy Clinic and Andrew
Carl, he's from Revision Energy, and he's the guy who designs and sets up systems for residential and small commercial.
Yeah,
So he doesn't go into this, this big stuff that we're talking about, but he knows the whole picture as well. So he should be pretty helpful.
Yeah, so between the 2 of them, we should cover everything from just as a homeowner, if you wanted a battery, all the way to the scale project that our ordinances will be primarily tackling. And it's just an opportunity for community members to learn about these technologies. So we submitted the town submitted the ad, and this blurb was part of that, right? So do we want to talk a little bit about additional venues for getting the word out? Jackie, did you end up submitting to the local Scoop newsletter?
Say that again, please. I'm sorry.
Okay, did you end up submitting our battery educational session information to the folks that publish the local Scoop newsletter?
Yes, I did. And it should be coming out shortly after February 1st. The person who does it is in the midst of a mild life crisis at the moment, but it will certainly be out before that, before the thing, and she'll take it exactly as it was written. Other thoughts are I'll of course be posting it here at the Highlands, and I can be sure that it's posted at the at Highland Green, because I have contacts over there. And just spreading the word, from person to person, I think will be as effective as anything.
So Victor used to make posters for us, but are we thinking that it makes sense to, get something that we can put up like at the Y and Wild Oats and different places like that?
Yeah, but just don't look at me to provide a poster.
I was gonna say, I don't know how to do it either. So we've lost.
I mean, I could certainly do something that's just very plain and simple, you do it with my word processor. So as long as you don't want it fancy and with icons and all kinds of things, I can make posters and stick them up.
Is that the kind of thing we would also post on the front door of this building?
Absolutely, and we can put, it won't be, we have to like abbreviate it, but we can put something in the sign too, so.
Yeah,
Battery storage, info session, something short like
Right.
that. Right. Sign.
I know staff time is always an issue, but isn't Josh good at making posters?
He is, so you can ask him if he has time, or I'll ask him if he has time to do it.
So maybe if I put something together with all of the information,
Then he could make it look good.
make
Yeah,
it look a little better.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can try that too and see what Josh says.
Okay. Sure.
If not, I don't know, maybe.
I think Pam was gonna snazz up a little bit what you gave her for the crier too. So 'cause
Okay.
Pam takes the stuff for the crier and then gets it prepared to actually submit.
Yeah,
So I think she was going to do something with some, depending on what she comes up with, that may or may not be something that you want to blow up or something.
oh, okay. So talk to her directly. about that, or?
Let's just wait and see what she comes up with.
Wait and see.
I'll send you what she comes up with. If you like it, we can use it. If it's not as much detail say as you want, which it may not be, you can come up with something else and ask Josh to do it.
Okay,
Charlie pushed back the prior deadline. It's not till the 25th now, so she's still working on it, but she has just done it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so to summarize the next steps for that.
As far as the poster, once the crier ad's ready, I'll show you what Pam did. And then Dick, if he wants to do something more detailed or bigger, you can come up with all the essential details and we'll give them to Josh and ask him if he can make it sharp.
Okay, and excuse me, Mark, what is Pam's last name?
Leduc, Leduc, she's the recreation
Okay,
department director.
thank you.
And the sign we probably wouldn't do till like 2 weeks before or something, just because
Right.
there's other things that come up before then.
And then I can't remember, is there any printing budget for the committees at all, or?
Depends no specific budget, but we can make copies, depends on what we need. So,
Well, just if we wanted to put a poster at Goodbye and Wild Oats.
I mean, we might need 20 copies. or
we could
something like
we
that,
could run
right?
them off as color copies.
I know we also have a email list of people that attended some of the climate action plan events and expressed interest in keeping up to date with energy committee activities. I think we have to dig up where
I was
those
gonna
are.
say, do you know where that is?
I
I
don't.
have no idea how to access it. Probably have to get some direction from the dad.
Yeah, unless Sky tells us that a list made it over to our
I can
to
ask
the
Sky.
files that
Yeah, I can
she
ask her.
copied.
Yeah, right.
And then, maybe the easiest thing would just be to email the poster. Once we have a nice poster, just
Right.
email,
Sure.
it's simple. And then I don't spend very much time on Facebook these days or in Facebook groups, but are there Facebook groups?
Are we the
Relevant.
least Facebook committee?
Yes, I'm not on it at all.
So,
Yeah, I don't know if anyone knows them.
Pam runs a town Facebook page, and she can certainly put it onto that page.
Okay,
I could probably twist Yvette's arm to put a Topsham Solar Advocates, but she still runs that page. I don't know what she
Yeah,
does with
right.
Facebook, but she would probably vote it for me. So otherwise than that, I'm like nowhere with that.
Is there a place to post it at the library as well? Do they have
I'm
a
sure.
notice board?
Yeah.
I am happy to volunteer to drive the posters around and put them places once we have them in hard copy.
Yeah, I mean, we can split that up too, because I go to the Y every day, so, things like that. That's right next to Wild Oats and next to Flight Deck, places where we can throw some stuff.
Okay, any other ideas for getting the word out?
No, I think that's enough.
I do. I think we'll reach.
It's gonna be,
We were doing public stuff like the town crier. We're reaching out to the different groups that we all are involved in, so. And once we get that email list, you're right about emailing the posters.
And then we probably need a plan, and we do have another committee meeting on the February 17th. Ahead of the education session on the 25th.
Yep.
But I know we need to come up with a setup plan for day of. I
Okay.
don't know, it's gonna be in here. I think
Probably we'll
just
put the
like
speakers up here.
making sure people get here enough in advance to make sure they can connect their
Yeah.
laptop and presentation materials and everything.
And we can do it hybrid like this, so that people would actually watch online too, as well, or
Yeah.
participate online.
Hmm.
Please, let's do that. Andrew said he has, he has a slide presentation, which he was gonna send to us, so that we can just kind of review it and tell him if we think he might wanna add or subtract anything. Get a sense of where he's at, but I'm not sure, I mean, I don't think we wanna make this like a promotional event for Revision Energy or
No,
anything like
yeah.
that, so I'm not really asking him to bring, brochures and all that
Right,
kind of stuff.
yeah.
People, they can check them if they want. But he said he was gonna send that to me, so I'll check back with him, make sure I get that, so we can look at it. It's a presentation.
Is there a particular amount of time ahead of time that you suggest we have the presenters and we show up just to test the technology? And
I think
make sure?
probably 45 minutes before. And have them bring their own computers, because it works best as if whoever's broadcasting the meeting doesn't have to try to change slides. So we'll let them join the meeting with their computer, and they can control their own slideshow.
Yeah, and I don't know about Kurt, but I'm sure Andrew's done a ton of presentations, so I think he knows the ropes.
Okay, that's helpful. Anything else we need to think about in terms of logistics for that day?
So
I think we should ask Andrew and Kurt if they're willing to have their slides posted on our page, the town page afterward, along with the recording.
Yep.
That could be.
mhm.
And then I don't know if there's any printouts that make sense. I think maybe once we see the materials,
Yeah, we can figure that out. And,
I don't know. And I'll ask Kurt if he can share some of his presentation materials ahead of time or an outline or what have you. And then if Kurt's coming here from Vermont, I was going to potentially invite him for dinner, like an early dinner beforehand with the committee.
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, and then Mark, you're welcome to. So I'll just let you know what I hear about those logistics.
Yeah.
Right, anything else related to that or any other old business?
Did we decide anything about, some, either something to drink or, any kind of refreshments? I think we decided no, but just to check.
The only thing I see people take is cookies. Like I definitely never see people take sandwiches or things like that. And
Right.
so I don't think it's worth doing something,
I agree.
but people like cookies. I don't know.
I'm kind of neutral about it, but, is that a good form?
I think cookies would be fine, but I think people are coming for the information, not sort of.
Yes, right.
So I don't think we have to do more than cookies.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually eat a couple more than I intended to.
Yeah, I feel like in the past, like Sky would go pick up cookies. What's your preference?
I think that was from a grant budget.
Okay,
Yeah, that
so
was-
we don't have that anymore.
We don't have it, yeah.
Okay, well, I guess, I think the committee members can decide, do we wanna go buy a package of cookies or what have you, or just
Yeah.
skip it all together.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
not the most important part,
Yeah.
I think.
Right.
Okay. Moving on to new business.
New business.
Nick and Mark, you guys were emailing about this Mid-Coast Council of Governments group.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, I can give I haven't been yet, but the Mid-Coast Council of Governments is putting on a small workshop. Because they would like to organize people to, I guess, go out to people's homes to assist them with any sort of weatherization, give them advice or not like a full-blown weatherization program, but, you know, just to be kind of an energy coach, for them. Have I got that sort of right, Mark?
That's my
Yeah.
impression.
Yeah, kind of modeled after a program they have in York County, which has been, you know, pretty good. So it's like just, you know, citizens volunteering to, go out and have a look at somebody's home, and they might say, you know, you might want to close your windows at night or whatever, you know, I mean, to give them, you know, give them tips and point them in directions of, you know, maybe going to Efficiency Maine or hiring a weatherization company to do stuff. So I'm gonna go attend that, and I can report on what it is, but I guess Midcoast wants to be the organizer of a program, so we'll find out what, you know, what kind of details they have on the program. I think it's a pretty cool idea.
And you're going to their meeting
I'm going,
on February
February
10th.
February 10th, yeah.
Great.
So I'll
Thanks for
let you know
doing that.
after the next meeting.
Perfect. All right, finally, we've made it to our zoning ordinance discussion. So I think our homework was to look at some of the materials that we had compiled and then bring some of your top concerns, issues, topics to this conversation, and then maybe we can talk about next steps and how we can support over the next couple months. So I made some notes, and I see we got some notes from Josh.
Did you get the ones I sent?
Yes, but I haven't opened it.
Okay, but they're there.
So where do we want to start?
Yeah. God, it's a big subject.
Maybe, just because they came tonight, before we jump in, is there anything that, Nikki, things that you absolutely want to make sure are in our ordinance, or Jeff?
So, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
You want to stand up or?
Yeah, maybe Jackie can hear you better.
Yes, I can if you stand up.
I'm in,
Thank you.
I'm gonna admit I may be a little confused, because this is zoning ordinance, but we're talking the whole overall
Right.
ordinance. So the only thing I thought of when I looked in I was looking through NFPA, and I was looking in exactly what you just said, right? I said, it's a pretty big topic, right? And I get fairly intimidated quickly by looking through it. And the only thing I'm gonna suggest is, I know in other NFPA books, in other situations that you end up with, like, there's an opportunity provided by the book, and I don't necessarily think I saw it in this one, but to mandate a third party independent engineer to look at this stuff. I think it's worth a discussion. I don't know exactly what it looks like, who would ultimately be responsible. I would assume the applicant. Typically, that's the way it's handled, but I just question with something this big, if we have the staff time or expertise to get really down into the details that need to be investigated to make this go smoothly. And so that was the first thing I thought of was, I think, we need to consider involving somebody that's independent and an expert in the field right off the bat. And I guess I'll just leave it at that. That was my biggest thing. You want to tell about how you're not going to be able to put the fires out, or? No, you can. Do you have anything?
I don't really have much. I mean, they answered a lot of our questions at the informational meeting last summer.
Yeah.
So I think that answered a lot of the questions, and it's mostly just the worry of thermal runaway, but I almost, did I hear something about it at our last staff meeting, they may be changing the type of batteries they're gonna?
Oh, I was throwing out that this reading the sodium ion had been progressing quickly.
Yeah.
And that they supposedly aren't as likely to have thermal runaway, and but I don't think they're at the grid scale yet, so I think if we required it all be sodium ion, it would probably guarantee it won't happen right now too.
Yeah. I mean, mostly our biggest concern is the fire suppression aspect of it, and it sounded like the way that they're creating them now is there'll be an individual units that theoretically thermal runaway problem shouldn't engage the entire facility, it should stay maintaining its own individual sections, so I think I'm just curious about hearing more kind of research on it itself, ordinance wise, and I like Jeff's idea of kind of getting a third party person here that's got a little more experience with battery farms when it comes to worrying about the NFPA part, but.
Yeah, what I heard at the public meeting was essentially, we're not even telling you what kind of battery system we're gonna use. There was no commitment towards that whatsoever. So it's hard to make plans if you don't know it's gonna be lithium or sodium or whatever. You know, things are changing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So how do you address that?
Yeah, so it's hard to kind of think about that ahead of time for suppression, because it may be a different level of need once we get out there, depending on what they use for batteries, so. I think regardless, it's gonna be a heavy water presence and we have to utilize a lot of staffing if there's a fire out there, so just watch it.
I was looking at the James City County unit, and I noticed they required that the units there, they have to all be accessible from the outside. So it's not like you walk into the container to work on it or something. But it also said there has to be a fire department connection on each unit, which I thought was interesting, because I thought if you can't put them out, why would they require it? So fire department connection is, like say there's one in Coles Tower. So it's a place that they can directly connect to pump water into the building and stuff.
Yeah.
So do you know why they would require a fire department?
I don't know,
connection to
because
units?
where they're proposing, I mean, theoretically, they're proposing to have this, there is no city water supply. So even if we have a fire department connection, we don't have a water source per se immediately that's gonna be big enough to.
Can I jump back up?
Yes, go for it.
I'm sorry, but it's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Doing what little research I've done is you realize really quickly that there's many options. And so I've seen, where I read a little bit on the inside storage units that you can actually walk into the buildings, the one that are contained within a building, and what they might require versus the outside storage units. And the outside storage units are, they're more appealing when you read them because they have separation, they have these things. The question though, in going back to the independent third party is, the code book gives you the minimum standard. I mean, it is the absolute minimum requirement. So, and typically NFPA likes 10-foot separations for fires, for anything. And so, you know, I guess the question is, when you have these boxes 10 feet apart out into a field somewhere, and you know, you have thermal runaway at one, and you can't contain it, how much is 10 feet worth at that point? And depending on whether they have fire department connections or whether they have these, you know, the UL listed wall container, you know, very little is my knowledge base, but it's all gonna play a role in that. And the code is only gonna take you where you need to go. And so understanding that it's a minimum standard and it's gonna answer the question you have, but not, the code's not designed to look at things from a 50,000 foot view. It's just a very specific path that expert comes in, you know, almost as a necessity. Well, so can I address that?
Yes.
So Sky just asked if the water issue was,
Well, because in rural subdivisions, we'll make them put in cisterns
Right.
sometimes, and I didn't know if that was an option, but I was just wondering.
no, I mean, I think I want to be very clear, I don't think anything's off the table, but a typical cistern for residential development, your fire flows are gonna put you in the, like, you know, 10,000 gallon tanks, probably in a series of up to 68,000 gallons. The amount of water, if what I'm seeing is correct, if you're actually gonna try to put one of these out, the amount of water you're gonna need for far surpasses anything that a cistern holds. And one would argue whether it was even worth wasting the water. I think firefighting tactics, I think, are to use the water for exposures. And to try to
Use the water
for exposures and try not to try to prevent spread,
Yeah.
but not necessarily to try to extinguish the fire.
Yeah, that's, everything I've read about it too is the same. It's there's, well, this project in particular that Mission Clean Energy proposed was 300 separate containers, probably sitting 10 feet apart. And the hope is that if one does ignite, it would just be contained, it wouldn't spread, and it would just, they would let it, and our fire team would let it just burn out. And maybe, yeah, you wet the area around the site so that if the
Yeah.
fire does spread, it doesn't catch on anything else, but there's really no way to put it out.
No, and I mean, in theory, a lot of that works, right? But in theory, the Titanic wasn't supposed to sink either, but I mean, it happens. And so you get these events that take place. I mean, if you had a good design and you had the newest UL standards, the newest designs, some of the information I saw or heard at the last presentation as well was that the newer models, a lot of the catastrophic incidents were happening with the older styles, and that they've improved those. And so, you know, you might reduce risk with the newer models, you might reduce risk by increasing separation, you might reduce risk by mandating the firewall limitations, by putting in a fire flow or a fire department connection. Those all might help, but without somebody with experience in what type of battery it was, how far it is apart. I mean, lithium ions, they may require 25 feet, or they may suggest 25 feet, where other ones might be, you know, you could get away with 10. Yeah, we don't have anybody in the field, so it's very difficult to have that knowledge. What happens is you watch the news like everybody else, and you get the information everybody else has.
Do you get the sense that there's an expert out there that does know enough?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure of it. The problem is where that expert comes from, right? I mean, you really, really need them to be an independent third party. You can, I'm sure you know as well as anybody, you can hire an expert for anything you need. And so we want to make sure that they were.
Well, I thought at the public presentation, the expert was a hired man. I mean, obviously, you know, so he was kind of a company guy.
Yeah, he wouldn't, he's not who I would consider an independent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seemed like most of the model ordinance language, like everyone just incorporates an FPA 855 as the standard to be followed. But then different towns can choose to make requirements more stringent from there.
That's right.
And so you're saying that you think that the town should consider hiring an independent expert to advise on those additional.
I think if it's not already included in the NFPA document, and to be honest, I don't know if it is or not. If it's not already included, that the town should consider language that requires a third party review. And typically that would be at the cost of the applicant.
I noticed that James City County one required a commissioning agent to come up with a report to the satisfaction of the fire department as part of their process.
Yeah, anything along those lines would be helpful.
And Sky might be able to elaborate, but it isn't that uncommon that we make people hire third-party experts in certain things. So you want to explain, Sky, some of the time to do it?
I came into this halfway through, so I actually didn't realize what you guys were talking about at first. I would feel hugely remiss if we didn't have something like that in here. We require, basically that's pretty normal. We have a third-party stormwater engineer that looks at everything for our stormwater regulations. For large projects, we'll get a peer-reviewed landscape architect. We get peer-reviewed lighting architect, or lighting engineers. We have a peer-reviewed traffic engineer working on a large project right now. It is covered under like site plan. They can ask for additional studies. I would certainly recommend that that just be written in here, that you're required to, you know, pay for someone of whichever caliber you need. I don't know if it's an electrical engineer or whatever type it is. Usually how it's written is that you would, you know, pay for the town to do it so that you're not providing it and that we find one. Having to find one is an effort sometimes, but usually manageable. It's usually like, I can't really find peer review people for under 2,500 per project anymore, just as like a monetary number. But I know that that was one of Josh's recommendations he put in there, so we should certainly have that. So yes, not weird. Definitely should do it. We're already doing it for like basically everything else.
Is there any reason for, you know, if you require them to hire a third party, is that somebody that the town brings in or somebody that they bring in?
It should be somebody the town brings in, because then you run into that company
So
management
essentially
risk.
they're working. for
Because
the
they should
town.
already be hiring someone qualified to prepare their application, you know, like
Yeah.
when we have the stormwater engineer look at things, our applications are prepared by professional engineers, and then we have our own professional engineer look at it. And the one that has a traffic engineer right now, they have traffic engineers on the team that are working on it. So it's like, basically just we hire someone to look at what they've done and go, you know, yeah, this makes sense and meets the ordinance and stuff. It might not be a bad idea for the energy committee to see if they could find someone like that and have them weigh in on something like this early on. I know that's an upfront cost and everything, but I would say that it probably couldn't hurt if it's feeling unsure about these types of things, so.
We actually have some consultant money that we could pay for that. So if gentleman that you have connections to, if he says, I know an engineer that would be useful, the consultants' money we have needs to be for things that for economic development, but this certainly would be for economic development. So yeah, that's a potential.
So like,
Enough to cover the sort of money Sky was talking about.
Enough to help us write. I think Sky was saying it might be good even to have him helping write this, some expert input. And I mean, it's not $100,000, but
Right, but more than 2,500 or something.
yeah, absolutely.
Those sort of numbers, okay, yeah. Well, good idea.
Another thing I liked about the James City one, and I think that we were the only one that did this, is that the money actually gets deposited, a surety, or I said money, but surety gets deposited with the town to pay for the decommissioning. So that we know there's the money there to take this apart when the time comes. So that's.
yeah, I wrote about that too. It seemed like I kind of saw several approaches to the decommissioning financial assurance, ranging from, like, I think the most stringent one was 125% of current estimated decommissioning costs gets set aside. And then that number gets updated, or the estimate for decommissioning costs gets updated every 5 years, and that fund is always at 125%. That was the most stringent one. And then there were some that was like, it's only funded 50% at first, and then 5 years later, it adds another 25%. And my recommendation for our town would be like max that out. Like, we want to protect ourselves. There's plenty of renewable energy companies that are kind of fly by night and evaporate overnight, and you kind of are stuck holding the bag. So I would say let's err on the more conservative side of decommissioning financial assurance. And then I thought, so I read through, there's the New York Battery Storage Guidebook, obviously from New York, that has a model law. There's the California GoBiz Clean Energy Permitting Playbook that has a model ordinance. And then there was a University of Michigan, also kind of model ordinance. And I thought all of those are really, like, they're good starting points for us because they have model language. All of them seem to separate them into similar sections. And actually it looks like Josh has sort of outlined those, right? like a definitions section, zoning. Some of them have the concept of, you know, what's it called, as by right permit versus special use permit. And I'm curious to understand how you all are thinking about what kind of permit is required depending on the zone. All that stuff is kind of over my head. But anyway, all of these resources give you a starting point, at least with language. A lot of them have some really good description of things to consider. And basically it's like we get to decide, do we want to be more stringent? Is the model language that they are suggesting fine for us? Do we need to hire someone to review something? And we can kind of go from there. But I think we at least have enough to get a first draft pulled together, right? I'm trying to think if there was anything else that stood out to me. The battery size and tiers I thought was interesting to think through. You know, at what size does it really trigger potentially a special use permit versus, oh yeah, we don't care. And is our ordinance just gonna cover front of the meter batteries? It like doesn't tackle if someone wants to have a battery at their small business behind their meter. So I don't know what if you guys have discussed any of that yet.
Scott, I don't think, I'm not aware of any discussions about the people just batteries for themselves at their homes, but.
Sorry, I was just pulling up Josh's thing. The special use permit is not something I'm super familiar with, honestly. Josh had to go somewhere tonight, or else I might have asked him to come to this, just because I was realizing that he's the one who does this stuff. So it was good to get his input on it. Right now, our solar ordinance, and I think you might have had something to do with creating that, is pretty good, honestly, generally. It has some specific requirements in it, and having the specific requirements is helpful. One issue with it is that the surety, just to go back to that really quickly, the surety requires something called an evergreen letter of credit, which no one ever knows what it is. The only thing I would say is to just make sure the language is really clear, and we've run it past the attorney and finance, and everyone is really good with it, because I think that might have just snuck it under the rug and it just makes things a little difficult for us. I fully agree that we should go all in on decommissioning for that. Regarding the permits, does he bring it up in his, I'm sorry, I had another meeting before this and I'm a little bit behind on this right now. Does he bring up the special use permits, or is that something that was in the other things?
I don't think he mentioned.
Okay, no, that's why if he had, I was going to look and see what he had said, and the way you had brought it up, I didn't know if he had mentioned it.
He did talk about the tiers. But
Okay, yes, I do think tiers are good. We do currently have that for solar. We have small, large, and utility grade, and I do think it's important to make a difference, because actually, as we were just talking about in our CPIC workshop, the solar farm at the base of Highland Green must be a large scale because it was allowed in that zone, which doesn't allow utility grade. Which is just a little different than, you know, it's a bit smaller, it's a little bit more human scale than some of those utility ones out in like R3 where we do allow utility scale. And then one thing about the permits to note is, so obviously this should go through site plan. We all want that. I think everyone's expecting that. Solar projects, even the small ones, like if you're putting it on your house, you have to get a photovoltaic permit from Tom. And it's important that we have something like that from Tom for this, because we need something to hold the project up with to make sure that they give us decommissioning. Currently, right now, we oftentimes will hold things up on releasing a building permit. We're not always able to hold up occupancy, and particularly if it's a energy project where people aren't moving in and you don't need like a MUBEC building or MUBEC certificate of occupancy. It can be really hard because they're like, okay, great, we're just gonna get going. You're like, oh, but you haven't finished some things. Well, yeah, we don't really care. So I would just note that I think that that's important to consider some type of end-all permit there. And obviously that should be done in conjunction with Tom, but we do need something to be able to say, you're not getting that until you give us the surety, bond, letter of credit, escrow, et cetera, et cetera. did I address what you guys were bringing up?
Partially,
Partially.
Or Nikki or Jeff, do you see, sounds like Sky probably is a vote for even small scale things in people's homes are useful to have permitted. Do you hearing of fires in the small scale ones, or is it, do you see a benefit in making sure that even those are installed right, so that people don't have fires?
Yeah.
Short answer, yes, I see a benefit in permitting, any type of these that are going on anywhere, just simply because it's not new technology, but it's newer technology, and you know, if you look at the history of the commercial ones in what's taking place, residential ones, typically what will happen is you'll have people that put them in correctly, and then you'll have people that learn how to put them in on YouTube and try to put them in. And unfortunately, fires are oftentimes, well, they're more numerous and they're more oftentimes end in fatalities in residences. So I would recommend tracking any of those, if nothing else, I mean, to permit them, to get them inspected and make sure that they're installed correctly.
We've got a new contract with a GIS company that we can take our parcels and add things to them. Seems like it would be useful for the fire department if we permitted even home systems, so that, and we don't have to necessarily make all our layers built with the public, so people doesn't have to know, general public doesn't know Nick has one. But the fire department would know if they're going to Nick's house, though, there's also a.
Did you respond to that? Can you?
We can mark our responding software with that as well,
Yeah.
and we have had multiple surprises actually of going to commercial buildings that we previously pre-planned that have now added solar arrays to the tops of the roofs that we didn't know were there until we went up there to investigate for a call. We're like, oh, look at all these solar panels, so.
Yeah, when you,
I think that would be a good idea.
yeah, when you push a permit, not only do you push the permit, but you push, you know, you push inspections that come with the permits. And it forces the fire department out to get, oftentimes to do pre-plans so that they know, they understand with weather like this, that they put a ladder on the roof and they hit a solar panel. Things like that. It's all part of the rationale for the permitting system, so.
I also know we permit certain things just to, so Justin knows that, you know, a shed got demolished, so it can be taken off the taxes, or a shed got built, so it can get put on the taxes. I don't know much about how this intersects with valuation, but it seems like that could at least be a consideration here.
The last thing I'll say on permits is I'm sure you're all aware of this, but you don't need to be an electrician to do electrical work in your own home. So I mean, you do everywhere else. So we require permits for everywhere else, but then you get to your own home where you can do it without being an electrician. And oftentimes there's no permits required. So I think in this particular circumstances, it would be well worth permitting.
So the example ordinance language that I pulled together, I don't think any of them tackle the small residential, so I think that'll be need to be a separate research effort, but I know there's tons of towns out there that already do this, so we could probably just do some research and pull together some language that we like.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably find out an awful lot about what's going on in many towns from in Carl. They're doing a lot of that. Same with Maine Solar, they're putting in Tesla batteries.
That's what they probably pulled the permits. Or did they? Yeah.
Look, just checking my notes to see if there's anything else, and then Jackie, did you wanna bring up any of your questions? I haven't had a chance to look at those yet.
Basically, even though I come at it from a completely different view or lack of expertise, you've covered several of the things that I was curious about, like the size and battery types. I would say that if we write we need to write ordinances so that they will adapt to changing technology. I'm not sure how you do that. Excuse me. Let's see. Oh, one question I had, oh, well, my end recommendation, excuse my voice, I don't know what's going wrong with it, is to follow a more model ordinance. Start with that. It just seems to make sense because people have worked on that already. And as we take in all these things that you've mentioned, they can be worked in. So I pulled out several, if you take a look at what I submitted, I pulled out several bits from the PNNL 34462 PDF, whatever the heck that was, but it had some very good points about implications for local planners. Hold on, I'm pulling it up here. And questions that planners can include when they're actually talking to someone. I think our biggest problem right here is that we don't have an actual company trying to do it right now. So we're trying to cover all the bases without knowing what all the bases might be. But so that's why I think the model ordinance is where to start. Excuse me.
Can I just touch on that model ordinance real quick?
Which one, the Massachusetts?
Well, no, I just want to talk about NFP 55 real quick, because I believe I checked, and I do not think it's adopted yet by the state. And so I don't think that, I mean, that doesn't cause any concern or anything, except for in the future, if the state decides to adopt this document.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that whatever we do now doesn't conflict with it, because when they do adopt it, it will become essentially state law and we'll be in violation of whatever we've changed. So something to keep in mind.
Do you think there's a way to write into there that, you know, we're gonna model, go up to the NFPA 855, but there would be an automatic adoption of the next, of revisions, or, I mean, do you need to say anything like that, or?
Yeah, well, state, if and when the state adopts it, you can adopt it kind of in unison with what the state does. I know that we've done it with the fire code, excuse me, we've done that with the fire code. So that if they adopt a new version or a new year, it automatically will update what we're enforcing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you can do things like that. You could, essentially, you could adopt this locally without the state and then modify it going forward. You just get more stringent, not less stringent. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as I was reading through all the different sections that the town will wanna have, I'm sure I can produce an opinion on all of them. Like an example would be, dark sky friendly lighting. Or if there's visual impact mitigation. I don't know if and some of this stuff, you guys might already have standard practice that it's just simply applying it to this different type of use, so.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you guys haven't already looked at the site plan ordinance, and the general standards and zoning, it might be a good idea to take a look at them, so you don't do work you don't need to do, like, we have an entire lighting ordinance, we have an entire landscaping ordinance, you don't need to duplicate the efforts of those, just to make your life easier, but if they're missing, it's a good place to put them in.
All right,
Do you have a favorite of the model ones, just to use as our?
I think my head was spinning honestly by the time I read through all of it, so I think, I mean, I definitely liked the ones that had the little descriptive boxes that helped you kind of understand more context. That was, like, the New York one seemed really bare bones. I thought the California one was pretty helpful in terms of the additional context, but I feel like California is a whole other beast and they have all kinds of stuff layered on there in terms of state law.
But when it comes to California, state codes and state laws are very different in California.
Yeah.
Very, can get challenged.
I think some of these seem scarier than they really are because there's just a lot of helpful information in them, but when it comes to the actual ordinance language itself, it's pretty straightforward and basic, and it's just a matter of, I don't know, Mark, if you think like just like maybe a working session where we get an initial draft pulled together and then some of those points where we can kind of talk through.
That was kind of my thought for the next meeting,
Yeah.
is I was gonna ask if you had a favorite to start with. If not, maybe Jeff and I would pick a favorite as the basis for the beginning, and then we'll work on a draft for the next meeting. And then we can, probably one of all the pieces, because as Sky said, there'll be pieces too in the site plan or the zoning code, whatever else, but.
Yeah, and that's where, even Josh might have a favorite, if depending on all the ones he reviewed, because I don't have the context of the rest of the zoning code and maybe it's clear to you all what a good starting point is for the discussion.
Then we'll discuss in-house, find a favorite, we'll come up with a first draft of a piece of what we're doing for the next meeting. I won't claim to have a comprehensive, all the pieces for the different codes.
Yeah, but then I think it would be pretty quick and easy to talk about each section and, pull up some of the other documents and just talk about visual impacts for a few minutes and talk about, I think the biggest thing is obviously gonna be the fire response and safety. And I really like just being very conservative in that regard. And I think actually one of them required an annual update of the emergency response plan.
Yep.
I think that's gonna be the biggest community issue too. Like that's the first thing people are gonna worry about or be against when it comes to these projects going in. So I think just being conservative makes sense.
Okay.
All right, so
We'll work on something for your next meeting.
next meeting can be more of a workshop
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, I mean, had a bunch of notes.
Oh yeah, Nick, do you wanna?
Well, no, I don't really have much more to say because I looked at Josh's thing and I was like, okay, well, it's pretty much the same points that I thought were important. So I didn't have anything else except for the only thing that, when I was thinking about the solar ordinance, depending on where this thing is built, we had a habitat mitigation fee, especially for the larger arrays, to discourage companies from building in sensitive areas, to try to push things into areas that were, of lower value. So, we might want to consider just adopting something similar in this one. But yeah, same thing, the fire safety is like pretty much the thing that we have to be very careful about.
And then I can offer to maybe try and see if there's good resources for residential battery permitting or smaller scale, because all the resources that I pulled together already were more utility grid scale. So I can offer to look into that.
And I'll check with Andrew about that as well, because they may already have a whole
Yeah, that would
playbook
be,
about that.
that would be helpful too.
If we get a new engineer, they may have ideas too.
Yeah, Carl, do you want to, I think we're at public
We're at
comment
public
number
comment
two.
number 2.
Are you excited or scared away at this point?
It's a very interesting topic. I have a lot of questions and thoughts, but I fear that I would bog you down at this juncture in the meeting. So
Do you know, the process for applying to be on the committee if you decide? you wanna-
I have filled out the application. And I believe I need to send it to Rose.
Or you
And
can
then-
scan an email if it's easier, so.
Yeah, okay, and then I'd have to go to a board meeting, interview.
Yep.
Hopefully not, get rejected, but maybe. But, yeah,
Cool. Great, so next steps, Mark, in conjunction with the team here, you'll take a stab at picking your
Yep.
favorite starting point. Next energy committee meeting will be a working session. Nick and I will look into permitting type info for smaller batteries.
And just to be realistic, when you'll see the draft, it probably won't be till just a few days before the meeting, because our budget stuff is all the week of the 9th of February. So.
Okay, are there any other deadlines or events we all need to be aware of?
Oh, I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
All in
All
favor?
in favor? Aye.